Hello everyone! In this video, I'll be covering my top 10 favourite mods for the Spore creature editor. I'm only covering the creature editor because the others like the building and the vehicles don't really have very many mods available, some but not many. And before we get started, I would like to consider two honourable mentions, and that is the Vehicle Absurdifier and the Advanced CE. These are both very good mods that just because I don't use and therefore aren't in my top 10, it doesn't mean they're not worth using. They're brilliant, they allow you to kind of disconnect your parts, and it basically converts the creature and vehicle editors to behave like the building editor, and I've seen people do some really crazy stuff with it, but again, it's not a mod I really use, so I can't really mention it in this video. Also, one more thing, Dark Injection will not be in this top 10 because it's so huge. I've been using it for so long, it feels like it would easily be top 1, so I'm going to go ahead and actually skip that one, but again, Dark Injection, like absolute S tier. For number 10, we have the Animations mod and the Dance Animations mod. I'm mentioning both of them because they pretty much perform the same role, it's just that they have different animations that they show, but they're both wonderful, they're both a good bit of fun and introduce a lot of life into the editor. The Animations mod includes animations from the tribal, civ, space stages, all the different abilities and actions that your creatures may perform, even idly in the cities that you wouldn't otherwise normally see, which is a lovely way to actually test your creature's animations, as well as see a couple of new features and functions. Whereas the Dance Animations mod introduces a bunch of different dance moves, and you gotta admire the effort put into this mod. It's wonderful, and like I said, it just adds a whole lot of life into the editor. And for number 9, we have the Smoother, a handy little mod whose purpose is in the name, it smooths things down. It's really small, very simple. It allows you to add in extra musculature or just really define certain definitions of your creature, and I personally use it just to bulk up things like shoulder blades, hips, etc. As I said, it's a very small and simple mod. It's been around for an incredibly long time, and it's just really handy. For number 8, we have the Dinosaur Heads mod. Not only does this mod add a lot of options and variety, and the models are actually rigged, animated and textured, but it also adds nice customization. So whether you wish to have an easier time making your creations and have a pre-made dinosaur heads for you, or if you want to modify the heads a little bit in conjunction with Dark Injection and Pandora's Toolbox, you'll find that you can get a lot of use out of this mod, and it just really makes things quite handy and opens up some new potential. And as mentioned earlier, a lot of the heads actually do animate and texture, which can be quite a big ask for some Spore mods. Not all of them animate, but a fair few do, and it helps make it feel right at home within Spore's editor. For number 7, we have the Enhanced Color Picker. Did you know that if you hold left click while selecting a colour, it will open up an entirely new palette of different shades? Well, the Enhanced Colour Picker, you don't need to do it anymore because it will give you every single colour in the RGB spectrum. And one thing that's very handy is that not only can you fine tune your colours to absolute perfection, but you can also import in hex codes for your colours, which means that if you really want to get something absolutely crystal perfect, or if you want to duplicate a shade from the base to the detail or coat and vice versa, you can just select the hex code from within the Colour Picker mod, copy and paste it, and job done. Another simple mod with absolutely huge potential. For number 6, we have the Integrated Integument mod, or in other words, the fur mod. This one's really handy for adding artificial fur to your creatures, and it comes in a lot of different variants and modifications. The mod gives you the option to add in black and white fur, which involved adding an entirely new coloration to your creature altogether, as well as various parts that include base, detail, and coat colorations. So in other words, it allows you to add fur that can either recolor based on the textures your creature actively has and therefore make everything seamless, or to add entirely new sections of color based on the detail and coat colorations you have chosen. And thanks to the 4 different fur parts that are included, you can add an entire variety of how fluffy you want your creatures to be. For number 5, we have Delta's Paints and Sides Skyncraft. Once again, these two are lumped together because they perform the same role, they just add more different options. And overall, these two mods add an entire variety of new paint textures for your creature, both in terms of base, detail, and coats. Some include subtle details such as the ability to paint purely your forearms or half of your creature's body, others add an entirely new variety of patterns such as stripes, spots, and more, whereas some also add in entirely new and wacky color textures altogether. If you ever wanted a creature to look like a galaxy, well, with this mod, you can. For number 4, we have the SporeStacker mod. This is incredibly simple, and you might not even notice it at first, but this mod simply allows you to stack parts onto other parts, which can really allow for some very creative combinations, such as placing literally anything on the end of a whip-wick. It's a great way to add an extra level of detail to your creations, as well as making perhaps floating looking parts, or just overall giving you the option to utilize parts in brand new ways. This mod is also entirely compatible with vanilla, which means that you can share your SporeStacker creations onto the Sporepedia, or with other players who do not have the mod installed. It's small, it's compatible, and it's incredibly useful. For number 3 on this list, we have Pandora's Toolbox, CamBen's Color Pack, and all of its associated add-ons. Now, the reason why I add these two together is that CamBen's Color Pack, while while it is arguably since outdated by Pandora's Toolbox, has been such a timeless classic and it's been incredibly useful and, at the time, absolutely revolutionary for many creations. Pandora's Toolbox, on the other hand, has taken CamBen's color pack to the next level, dialed up to 11, and adds in so much more variety of new parts, new shapes, new coloration options, new interactions, new modifiers. It's CamBen's color pack on absolute crack. But like I said, I had to mention it because it was such a timeless classic. Both of these mods will allow you to add an entirely new set of colors and detail to your creations. It'll also allow you to really fine-tune certain details, such as say if you want to make a Pokemon, you can make the correct shapes and the correct colors for your Pokemon, and it allows for really nice seamless coloration, in addition to more cartoonish creations as well. While Pandora's Toolbox is great for very strong, well-defined shapes, CamBen's color pack actually pulls ahead in terms of introducing parts that look more familiar to Spores is based on the nail down. So while Pandora's Toolbox might make your creation look a little bit artificial, CamBen's color pack can make it feel right at home within Spore. Both are definitely worth using together as they both have their strengths and weaknesses, and they complement each other nicely. For number 2, we have the Infinite Scaling mod. The purpose is in the name, it lets you scale indefinitely. Sounds kind of basic, but trust me, it's really great for getting details, especially in things like faces, or if your wings just aren't big enough. I find it's more of a problem solver than it is a feature, but I know it's one I really can't live without. And finally, at number 1, my top favorite mod of this list is Replicant. Replicant is a new and a very unique mod that basically duplicates every existing core Spore part, including the DLCs, and it creates 3 brand new versions of it. One is animating textureless parts. These are parts that function exactly to do in the vanilla game, but they're textureless, which means that they inherit all the colors of the base creature. So no more gross pinkish mouths or the weird dull coloring you get on a lot of parts. It makes it exactly like the rest of your creature. The second variant is a rigid textured part. This is handy with certain detail parts, such as the Ichthyosaur or the wings or the Osteoflippy, where you wanted to retain its original textures, but it's completely frozen. So if it's a headpiece, it'll no longer animate. If it's a hand piece, you can slap it on anywhere. And if it's a bouncy detail piece, like the Grastachio, the Whipwick, it'll remove all of its animations. And the third variant is a combination of both, rigid textureless parts. So once again, textureless meaning it will inherit all the colors of the base creature, and rigid meaning it will not animate at all. This gives incredible flexibility, opens up so many new opportunities. I've actually found myself nowadays, when it comes to making things like dragon wings, I've actually stopped using really blatantly modded parts and started using Replicant instead, because I actually prefer the original core Spore look, and now that I can make them animate and color the way I want, it really opens up a lot of possibilities, especially when using parts like the Sporsal fin for wings. Trust me, it is amazing. So overall, a rather simple mod on the surface, but absolutely huge potential and possibility, and in my opinion, actually rivals Dark Injection if it weren't for Dark Injection having freedom. Of course, freedom of complexity and freedom of the editor boundaries kind of trumps everything in my opinion, but Replicant is a really high competitor. And there we have my top 10 list of my favourite mods to use in the Spore creature editor. Now of course there are plenty more mods worth mentioning, but I can't go through everything, and this is after all my top 10. So you might find mods out there that you prefer for yourself, and I'd highly recommend checking the Spore modding Discord community server or David Online. And of course, if you want any of these mods I've shown today, or any other mods I may use in my free time, you can always go to my document in the video description down below. And in case it wasn't already clear, this is once again my own opinion. This video is made for a bit of fun, but also to showcase what mods I particularly like. So, thank you all so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day.